All right, in our series on locating radio frequency interference, we've spent a lot of time on the hunt. Now it's time to tackle the handbook, because after you find that source, you have to know the rules. Let's get into navigating RF regulations. So, just as a reminder, this is part 10 of our 15-part series for all you RF technicians out there, and it's all based on that really comprehensive guide from Virtualization Options LLC. We've spent the last 9 parts on the how-to of finding interference. Now we're digging into the crucial what's next. Okay, so you've done all the hard work, you've followed the signal, you've cornered the source, and you've identified the culprit. But that's really only half the battle. The next, and you could argue more complex question is, does it even have a right to be there? Is that interference actually illegal? To figure that out, we're going to walk through the regulatory landscape you need to know. We'll start with the basic rules of the airwaves, then we'll meet the main regulator, the FCC, and break down the key regulations that'll affect you. After that, we'll cover the formal process for taking action, and we'll wrap it all up with why this stuff truly matters to you as a pro. First up, let's get a core concept straight. You know, it's easy to think of the RF spectrum as this big open space, like the Wild West. But the reality? It's way more structured. Think of it more like a massive, controlled highway system. And here's the thing. The RF spectrum is a finite resource. Just like there are only so many lanes on a highway, there's only so much spectrum to go around. If we didn't manage it carefully, it would just be total chaos, signals crashing into each other, making our most critical communication systems completely useless. So, who's the traffic cop on this highway of airwaves? Well, in the United States, there's one main authority responsible for keeping everything in order. And that would be the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC. For any RF tech, this is the agency you absolutely need to know. They're the ones who decide who gets to use which frequencies, they hand out the licenses, and, most importantly for us, they're the final word when it comes to sorting out interference problems. And just look at the sheer scale of their job. That's about 3.5 million active licenses that the FCC is managing right now. Every single one is a potential line of communication and a potential source of interference. Keeping all of that in order is a huge, monumental task. And you better believe the rules they enforce have real teeth. It's all laid out in federal law, under what's called Title 47. You can think of this as the ultimate rule book for the airwaves, with every single technical standard and operational limit you need to know about. And this right here is why you need to pay close attention. Not following the rules has serious financial consequences. That $10,000, that can be the starting fine for just marketing a single piece of equipment that's not compliant. For repeat offenses, that number can go through the roof. So how does all this big picture stuff translate to your actual day-to-day work? Well, you don't need to memorize all of Title 47, but there are a few key regulations that are absolutely essential for every technician to understand. The first major distinction you need to get is between intentional and unintentional radiators. Intentional radiators are things designed to transmit RF, like two-wave radios. But honestly, most of the interference you're going to hunt down comes from unintentional radiators, things like variable frequency drives or LED lights that just create RF noise as a side effect. And these are mostly governed by one specific section of the rules, Part 15. Part 15 is your bread and butter. It covers the vast majority of all the commercial and industrial gear you'll ever encounter. It sets very strict limits on how much RF energy a device can radiate out into the air or conduct back onto power lines. But, and this is so important, just because a device has that FCC sticker on it, that does not give it a free pass. Certification is done in a lab. It doesn't guarantee that the device won't cause interference when it's poorly installed, badly maintained, or sitting right next to a sensitive receiver. So what do you do when you've found a source that's causing harmful interference, whether it has a sticker on it or not? You can't just go and unplug it. There's a formal process you have to follow. Before you even think about filing a complaint with anyone, just burn this quote into your memory. Your single greatest tool when working with the FCC is meticulous documentation. Vague complaints, they get lost in the shuffle. Detailed, data-driven reports, those get results. The process itself is pretty straightforward. First, you document everything. And I mean everything. Frequencies, times, locations, signal strength readings, photos of the source, all of it. Second, you file the complaint using the FCC's online system. And third, you cooperate fully with the FCC Enforcement Bureau. They're your allies in this, but they rely on your technical data to focus their efforts and build a real case. Okay, let's pull all this together and talk about the big picture. Why should you care so deeply about all these rules and regulations? Well, because it's absolutely fundamental to your role as a professional. Just look at this. Modern operations, whether it's a factory floor or a public safety command center, are completely dependent on reliable wireless communications. When that spectrum is compromised, operations grind to a halt, and safety can be put at serious risk. The work you do directly impacts this. So the takeaway here is that compliance isn't just about red tape and bureaucracy. It's about protecting critical systems, it's about helping your organization avoid massive fines, it's about ensuring the safety of your coworkers and the efficiency of your operations. And ultimately, it's about upholding the professional standards of our field and being a good steward of a shared vital resource. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We live in a world where millions of new wireless devices, from little IoT sensors to giant automated robots, are flooding the spectrum every single year. With all this new congestion, how does your job need to change? Is it enough to just be a fixer who reacts to problems? Or do you have to evolve into a proactive spectrum steward who understands and defends the rules of the road just to keep everything running?